You're going to the Alabama game this weekend, right, Jeri Anne?
Yep.
Right?
We leave tomorrow afternoon. We're headed to Tuscaloosa. We're going to go see if Alabama can beat Vanderbilt this year.
What's the consensus? Are
Uh,
Alabama fans
I
shaking
mean,
in their
they're
boots this
ranked.
year?
They're ranked this year. I mean, they've got a good quarterback, so we will see how Alabama does. It's at home. I'm not too worried about it, but it should be a decent game.
Hopefully. I mean, it's kind of cool. Vanderbilt. Not that I'm a huge Vanderbilt fan, but it's kind of cool. They're good. It's always fun, like when you live in a city, and whether it's the Preds or the couple years the Titans have had a couple good runs, it always makes it a little more fun. The city feels a little
Yeah,
more alive when there's a sports team doing well. And I
I
think our
guess.
soccer team's pretty good. I think I saw that they won something,
Yes.
the MLS team,
Yeah.
which I don't really follow that
Mhm.
very closely either. But
The one thing I'll tell you real quick about Tuscaloosa, there's this new bar in town that's like really popular. It's called Two Dimes or something. I don't know. But and they have like a stage, so they have like guests come, influencers, there's people like that, and really get the crowd going. Well, they have Johnny Manziel coming, and he's best friends apparently with the quarterback of
oh,
Vanderbilt.
okay.
And so but they're having him as the guest. And I guess all the students are like boycotting that bar because they're like, why are you having, and he's going to have like a Vandy jersey on and stuff.
That is interesting. You
So
would have thought. You would have thought. I wonder who owns that. You would have thought they would have had like some Alabama
I
legends come
know
back for the game,
I
or a
know
couple of them.
everybody's so confused. Yeah.
Because I
So
don't think I've
anyway,
said this, but I saw game day is going to be there, so I'm sure, like there'll be
yeah,
a ton of
yeah,
people in town. So
yeah, there's going to be a
I
lot.
don't
Yeah.
know. It's nice having football back and some of these cooler. I feel like we probably said this on every one, but some of these cooler mornings, a little bit cooler weather we've been having. It's been a nice switch up from the heat. So, but thanks again for joining us this week. I'm Myles Zuger, wealth advisor here on the team, joined by Jeri Anne AG. Carson's taking the week off. He's out at the beach with the fam. So just Jeri Anne and I here this week. But today we're just going to talk about a topic that I think resonates and that comes up in a lot of meetings and client conversations that we have. And it's just, and I think a lot of people probably feel this, but it's just around money and the fact that money and finances are something that are hard to talk about with others, whether it's a spouse or friends or other family, whatever it might be. It's a topic that, for some, there's a lot of sensitivity around it. For others, it's a little bit easier for them to talk about it, but it's one of those things that I think can be difficult for all of us at times. So, Jeri, any initial thoughts on just money and tough conversations, and maybe just whether you've used some tactics in the past or just tactics that you feel like have worked with clients to make conversations a little bit easier?
I guess like for me, it's a little easier because growing up, my family was very honest about money. I remember my brother and I asking my parents, like, how much money do you make? Like, how much money do we have? Like, and them kind of like going over
And they're
that and
kind of being like, "Why are
explaining.
you interested in this?" As a 8-year-old or whatever. You're
Right,
probably
right.
older than that, but
Yeah, it was older. They were kind of transparent about it, and we've tried to be kind of transparent with our kids about it. There's a fine line there, you know. You
mm-hmm.
don't want to give them like too much information that makes them feel like they can just rely on you for everything because you have a certain amount of money. But there's so many people that think it's just almost a taboo subject,
Yeah,
especially, I don't know. I mean, growing up in the South, it was rare that my family, I mean, that they did talk about money. It was almost like looked down upon if you had to talk about money, like,
yeah,
oh, they must not have any money if they have to talk about money kind of
yeah.
thing.
I do feel like those that it feels like the clients that we have in here, or the maybe the newer clients that we have in here that all where this gets talked about, and they just say, "Growing up, we never talked about money in our household," and it seems like those are the ones that maybe have a little bit tougher time talking about money versus the ones, to your point, that it was a very transparent topic in your household growing up. I think they have I don't know if I would use the word healthier, but just it's easier for them to talk about money and whatnot when it comes to those tough conversations.
And unfortunately, like for some people, I mean, some of our middle aged kind of clients that know that their family has a certain amount of money, they don't know how much. They just know there's money there that they will inherit one day, and it's for a lot of them going to be a big fat surprise because their parents have never opened up to them about what it might be, and which in a sense is not a great thing for the people inheriting because that could help in their financial plan at some point, but it is such a touchy subject. A friend of mine went to her parents. She knows she's inheriting, there's a trust. She has no idea how much. She had tried to have the conversation and say, for my just financial plan going forward for my life, can you share some of that information? And her dad literally flipped out and said, or you're waiting for me to die and all that kind of stuff. So she's like, I'll never bring it up again. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I feel like that's something we hear often, or just the feeling people has. It's like it's not even to your point of your friend. It's not even her saying like, "Hey, I want this money now," or "I need this money." It's just her saying like, "Hey, I'm just trying to do some planning. Is there any way you can just give me any idea what's there so that I can be accurate in that? I'm not waiting for you to pass away. I want you to live another 50, 100 years, hopefully." But it's just then to your point, she shuts down with that conversation, um, and then it just she's never going to bring it up again. And then just as you started that conversation, unfortunately, when her parents passed away, is when she's going to find out how much or is or isn't there, or that's when she really can start to financial plan. And in any situation, if the parents are willing to help out, not that it's money now, but just it allows you to do just a better job of planning to keep more of that money and give less away potentially in taxes or to the IRS, and just make it so that some sort of legacy can live on in a more meaningful way, um, than just money out the door because a lack of planning.
The other big piece of talking about money, I don't know really how to say that, but is with couples. Like people, when they're dating and then they maybe they get engaged and they've got a wedding date set or whatever, and then if you're talking to them, they each have no idea what the other one has as far as money. It's like, or we'll say, when you get married, are you going to combine your finances? And they're like, oh gosh, I don't know, should we? And then there's potential debt out there that you don't know about that you're kind of gaining when you get married. And so for sure you've got to have those conversations with each other before you get married. That's a no-brainer.
In relationships, money is one of the biggest stressors, and when it comes to
And it's one
finding
of
a
the
lot,
biggest
yeah,
causes of divorce.
yeah. When it comes to like finding your partner or your spouse at some point, it's like you were probably raised totally different than the way she was raised. I mean, I don't know if she remembers it, but I remember my wife when we were dating, just after we've been dating for a while, I just remember her saying like, "How much money do you make? Can I ask that yet?" And it was like a kind of a way of like ripping the band-aid off. But I
Yeah,
think
that's
it was
great.
like rip the band-aid off, and it made it like way more comfortable for us to talk about money, and like if we each had debt or didn't have debt, student loans, etc. And I think it's made it so it's like not that we don't like have our disagreements about what to spend money on, but we are able to have open conversations on that because um, I feel like we just kind of ripped the band-aid off earlier on, and it made it much easier. Sometimes that's the way to go about it. It just makes it way less of a taboo subject to where you can have open and honest conversations, and kind of take that stress out because I think that's the biggest thing is you just have the transparency and the open conversations. It's like anything else when tough conversations popped up. It's never as bad as what you think it's going to be. You always build it up in your head to think it's going to be this horrible thing and whatever it may be. And then once you have the conversation you talk about, you're like, oh, that was it. Like that took care of the conversation, and it's just way easier from there.
And on top of like how much money do you make or how much do you have in savings or how much debt do you have and all that, there's also, the side of the conversation is as you get to know that person, it's like, are you a spender? Are you a saver? Like, because I married a saver and I'm a spender. And so it helps balance, we kind of balance each other out. But if you've got two spenders, you definitely need to have those money conversations.
Which I feel like that's how I think most it feels like most clients who work within the relationship, I think there's usually like a saver and like not that it's just like people just blowing money, but I think there is somebody who's always a little bit more lenient on the spending side. There's always somebody who's a little bit heavier on the saving side. And our job in that is just to allow them to have that open dialogue and find a happy medium so that they both feel comfortable about where their plans are at, and making sure that whether it's budgeting or how they're saving, that they're taking care of all that. So if they want to go for a trip or go out to dinner or whatever that may be, they know that's a piece of their plan that we've already accounted for and planned for, and they don't have to feel guilty about spending that money or buying whatever it may be, dinner, treating themselves to something fancy, whatever.
Yeah, that's what I have to tell my husband that. Yeah, because as long as you're taking care of like what we say of your buckets, you've got your emergency fund and cash, you've got your retirement accounts working for you, you've got your middle bucket with your, whatever you're saving for. It could be retirement, whatever. Um, I have to remind my husband, we've got all that going for us, so we can spend this money. What else are we gonna do with it? Like we're not putting it in savings, so we have to kind of remind ourselves too that it's okay to spend some money.
Yeah, I think that I think me and my wife are the exact same way. We're like, hey, we are saving into 401ks and saving into a bucket too. Like we are doing that. It's okay if we want to take this trip or whatever it may be, because it's exactly how we plan with clients, the retire while you work philosophy. It's let's make sure we're taking all care of all this on the front end. So if, when you want to go on the trip, you've already saved that month. You can go spend not just totally freely, but within your constraints of your plan and your budget and what you feel good about.
The other big, like, it's weird. I don't know if this will ever change, but a taboo thing is among your peers, like your
Hmm.
friends. It's like no one ever really talks about money. It's more of like, wow, look what they have, or
Yeah.
they just got this new car, or wow, they must be doing well. And you make these assumptions about your friends, but you really have no idea what's really going on, and no one really talks about that.
Yeah.
I
And I
mean,
think
they'll
that's
talk
one that's
about
way, way common. I mean, I don't have those conversations with my friends really. I mean, we all kind of
no.
know what each other does and that we all, do decent and are able to go travel and go out to eat and things like that. But I think
Mhm.
when it comes to like how much we all make, like nobody
Yeah,
really knows.
right, right. Or how much have you saved?
Yeah.
Or, a conversation like how, we're the same age. Like, how are y'all? When do y'all think you're going to retire? I mean, no
Hmm.
one ever really has any of those conversations with their friends. Just it
Yeah.
sounds kind of nosy, but it is interesting because everyone could be just so different than what you think they are.
Yeah. And most probably are, but it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Some people are probably saving heavy into their retirement accounts. Maybe some are saving heavy into real estate. But yeah, I mean, I thought about that before too. Of like, that's almost more taboo than amongst family, or I mean, certainly spouses. I think obviously if you share a bank account.
Yep. And when doing our women in wealth events too, like women will talk about not wanting to talk about money because they don't feel like they understand things enough. So it's like we've had a lot of women stand up and say, the more they learn and become comfortable with financial things in general, the more they're willing to talk about it with people. But they've held back in the past because they didn't want to seem dumb or whatever, is what they would say. So I can understand. I mean, financial literacy probably helps a lot of people open up more about money than they realize because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's with anything. I feel like you know any topic that I've maybe found myself in the room before not feeling like an expert. I think we all naturally kind of like shy back from the conversation because we don't want to say something stupid or feel like we just exposed ourselves to that. But and I think that is with money. I think that's something we do a very good job of doing, is trying through the women in wealth initiative that we have, or just clients in general, is really focusing on that education side of money, so that people feel empowered and understand that they know what's going on in their individual situation and what they have going on, so that um, they just like feel good and empowered about the money side of thing, because it's something that can cause a lot of stress, and it doesn't necessarily have to, if you can just have the courage to, one, find somebody like us and just say, hey, I don't understand what I have here, help me understand this. Or finding, and it could be a friend or a family member who you can have that open dialogue with, those open conversations, so that you just feel empowered and understand what you have and how it works and why you have it, and what your plan is at the end of the day. I mean, there's so many different investments out there, but at the end of the day, it's all, we really try to focus on the financial plan side of things, um, taking the emphasis off the money, so that you just kind of, if you know the plan's good, we're going to build in all the backstops. But so if you can take the focus off the money, I think it helps relieve some of that stress also.
And it's interesting when we do talk to clients and they or it's really our first, really it's like the first meeting. It's a prospect before they become a client. Um, I think sometimes they are taken aback a little bit by our like honest or questions that we ask, like, oh, well, what is your income currently? And we want to hear like an actual number, like, how much are you putting in savings? How much do you have in savings? That kind of thing. And once they realize like that's okay to talk about, these people are helping me figure all this out, they open up so much more and they'll tell us every little thing that's out there. But it's interesting to first kind of see their faces when you say, well, how much cash do you have in the bank? And they're just kind of like, whoa, like almost feeling like we're nosy or something,
Yeah.
but they
But
get it
I
real
think
quick.
it comes back to we can only do as good of a job with the information that we have and we know, and we want to do the best job we can. So it comes down to just asking those tough questions and being able to have that. I mean, kind of how we started, just being able to have that open dialogue, even with us. And I think,
Yeah.
the biggest thing is this is what we do every day. And I think it's still hard for us, all of us at time to maybe have that conversation or know like what in my personal situation, I know where I should be moving money around to. And I feel fully convicted. And if it was a client sitting in my shoes, telling them what to do with that money and that it's the right decision to make. But we sit in those shoes having to move our own personal money around also. And it can be hard to do, even though
Oh yeah,
it's the right
absolutely.
thing. It's just, it can be money can be a very emotional thing and can drive good emotions, can drive bad emotions.
Hmm.
But it's about just being open and honest about how you feel. Awesome. This is a good one. I think it's a good topic that, kind of gets maybe pushed under the rug at times,
Yeah.
because it is tough to talk about, but hopefully whether we, give a couple tips, whatever it may be today, hopefully it makes it easier for somebody listening to, come and see somebody like us or talk to a family member or a friend, so
Or a
they can just,
boyfriend or
yeah,
fiance, whatever.
yep, just have a little bit healthier relationship with money if they feel like they're maybe struggling with that and understanding it and how it all works for them. So,
Yeah.
anything else to add?
No, I think we covered it.
Thanks again for joining us this week then on the Retire While You Work podcast, and we'll see you all next week.
Thanks.
Any opinions are those of myself and not necessarily those of Raymond James. Expressions of opinion are as of this date and are subject to change without notice. The information contained in these podcasts do not purport to be a complete description of the securities market or developments referred to in this material. The information has been obtained from sources considered to be reliable, but we do not guarantee that the foregoing material is accurate or complete. Every investor situation is unique, and you should consider your investment goals, risk tolerance, and time horizon before making any investment. Prior to making an investment decision, please consult with your financial advisor about your individual situation. Any hypothetical examples are for illustration purposes only. Actual investor results will vary. Raymond James does not provide legal or tax services. Please discuss these matters with the appropriate professional.